Hi, this is Abby, and I am here to show you some tips for playing finger cymbals. So I'm not going to be talking about patterns, I'm not going to be talking about musicality. If you want finger cymbal patterns, go to Soundpour's store and download the Cymbal Jams. There are over 72 patterns, and I recommend that you start there. I'm actually going to be talking about the way you hold the cymbals and the way you use your hand to make the sound. So before you get started, I highly recommend that you have a set of professional cymbals. Yes, they sometimes are expensive, but they are worth it. Obviously, I use the Soundpour cymbals. I use the Suhaila models. This is what all of our dancers use. And Suhaila worked with Ali of Turquoise International specifically to make these cymbals because she was looking for something that had a nice weight and wasn't too big and also had a sound that worked with lots of different kinds of music. So I've had this set for probably over 10 years, and as you can see, they're still in really, really, really good shape. And I take care of them. Yes, they'll tarnish, that's okay. It means that you sweat and worked hard. This is a side note, but I highly recommend that you get a nice set of earplugs. Earplugs made for musicians. So these have a little phalange on them. They look like little Christmas trees. I'm wearing my cymbals, so it's hard for you to see in the camera. And they filter out high frequencies. These are also marketed for people who go to a lot of concerts or loud music shows. Save your hearing. I didn't protect my hearing for quite a while, and I really regret it. So now I play with the little earplugs because it helps. And it also actually helps you hear your cymbals a little bit clearer, but you have to get used to it. At first, it's going to sound really strange. So get used to what it sounds like because you're not going to be hearing those high frequencies, but I save your hearing because you can't get it back. So earplugs. So the first thing is elastics. So your cymbal elastics, I like to use wide ones. Some people use these the skinnier ones. I think these are 7/8 inch wide. So your finger cymbal elastics, when you put them on, should be very, very tight. Yes, your fingers will turn blue. That means that they're not going to fall off while you're performing. Personally, knock on wood, that hasn't happened to me, but it has happened to other dancers that I've seen. So when they're on, you want the elastic to be right behind the knuckle. If it's too far forward, yes, it will be in danger of flying off. If it's too far back, you're not going to be able to get the optimal cymbal to cymbal placement. Another note about elastics. I used to sew the insides of my cymbals, and as you can see here, I actually tie them now. Tying is a lot easier. You might need to find a friend to help you hold the elastic while you tighten it, but I found that this is a lot faster and it holds just as well. So tie your elastics, don't worry about sewing them. Do not safety pin them. Safety pins get bent and they can fall off and they can end up in your feet. Not a good idea for attaching your elastics. So tie them, and if you're feeling so inclined, you can sew them, but why bother when you can tie them? The second thing I wanted to share with you about playing cymbals is about the hand. So you want to use your whole hand. And what I mean by that is that you're not going to just use one finger or your thumb. You're going to use the whole hand. So I encourage you to try one finger, try the thumb, and then use the whole hand. And notice how when I play, I hit with force and I immediately release. And you're going to get a nice ring. And you're going to be able to use more of the muscles in your forearms rather than just one finger. If you're feeling crampy, there's a lot of reasons why your fingers might cramp up, why your forearm might cramp up while you're playing cymbals. One of those is that maybe you're not using your whole hand. So use your whole hand. And notice how when I do that, I'm hitting the entire cymbal. So I'm not hitting just the edge, right? Whole cymbal. I'm also not brushing. Brushing is, it just doesn't allow you enough time for playing faster patterns. So really hit the whole cymbal, right? The second thing is your wrist position. So if you're feeling crampy or you're feeling like you can't play as fast as you'd like, a lot of times it has to do with your wrist position. So I've seen variations on wrist position. Sometimes I see dancers like this. So this is a flexion of the wrist, and I'm lengthening the muscles in the top of my arm, which means I'm going to have a lot less range for them to operate that middle finger. So if they're here, I'm also getting this sort of like pingy quality of the cymbal. So you want to make sure that the wrist is long, right? So I'm lengthening the bottom of the wrist, and I'm not going to get that ping quality. When you're playing cymbals, you want to make sure that your wrist is long on the bottom as well as the top. So sometimes dancers will play with their wrists in extension like this. And my arms might come out of frame here, but that position. If you're playing in this position for long periods of time, this is going to fatigue your arms as well. So if you're drilling and you have your arms up in fifth, make sure you're not extending the wrist, that's a wrist extension, or over flexing the wrist, because that's going to shorten one side of your arm and lengthen the other and make it difficult for you to get that whole hand action, right? So if you're down here, I encourage you to try that. Notice how my pinky is like, right? So, and the other thing about this position, it makes your hand look like the cymbals are kind of gross. Like, ew, I don't know, right? So you want to play with confidence. So the next thing is finger placement. This can make or break your finger cymbal playing, particularly when you're playing fast patterns. I see lots of dancers struggle with this, even really, really advanced dancers, and I do myself. So what I mean by that is that you want your fingers to be relaxed. And this is easier said than done, particularly when you're playing fast patterns or very complex patterns, and it just feels like you're just rushing to keep up the whole time. So think about the fingers being long and relaxed. So some of the things I see is this pinky, like a little bug antenna, and it just sticks up out of the hand. That's gonna choke out the action. So you're not gonna be able to play as well when that pinky is going way, way up in the air, because what's happening is you're extending these muscles here, right? And now you can't recruit those muscles to play your cymbals. So watch out for the antenna pinky, and then watch out for the curly pinky. The curly pinky ends up bringing other fingers along with it, and then this happens. And notice here I can't get that full hand action. As opposed to that. So relax your fingers while you play. Practice that. Relax, relax, relax. Check in with your hands over and over and over and over and over again. The last thing is you don't want to rest your fingers on the cymbals. So this is I have lots of animal imagery, sort of like crab pincers. And notice how it chokes out the ring of the cymbal, because now the top cymbal in particular can't ring because you've dampened the vibration of the metal. So make sure that the pointer and the ring finger are not resting on the cymbal. This is a lot easier said than done, but again, check in with your body, check in with your fingers. Are you resting your fingers on the cymbal? Are you extending that pinky up into the sky? Are you curling your pinkies? And then my last piece of advice for you is that you play right and left hand dominant. Someone asked me a while ago, why do we need to play left hand dominant? I can play everything right hand dominant. Why do I have to play left hand dominant? The reason for this is so that your body is even, right? If you're playing right hand dominant all the time, you're playing your right hand more often than you're playing your left hand. That means that your left hand by nature is going to be weaker. That's just how bodies work. If you're playing left hand dominant as much as you're playing right hand dominant, you're going to be more even. This is going to help you again when you're playing faster and more complex patterns, because your left hand isn't going to be struggling to keep up. So if you feel that your left hand is weak, that means you probably have to practice left hand dominant more. And most of us, if we're right-handed, we do have to practice left hand dominant more. If you're left hand dominant with your handwriting, then you're probably going to have to practice your right hand dominant more, right? So the goal is that your hands are even and that you have that ability available to you whenever you want it. So it's better to play something simple because you choose to, rather than playing something simple because that's all you can do.